Oh, yeah.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our July meeting. If you would like to speak or about any agenda items or general expression, we ask that you sign in on the sign-up sheet. That will be at this table every evening when you walk in. If you forgot and you would still like to speak, please just raise your hand and state your name and address. And we kindly ask that you keep it to 3 minutes. Thank you.
All right, first we have our Bearcat Nation highlight, and we have a military wall of honor to share, and we also have our student athletic leadership team who just went to a conference, and they're going to present as well. So we will go ahead and start with the military wall of honor. Sound good? All right. I have Mrs. Amy Hostetler here. She's our media specialist from the high school, and she has done an excellent job recognizing our military community members, related extended. So she will go ahead and share more before I steal all the thunder here.
Okay, well, thank you very much for inviting me to highlight one of the many projects that we're doing in the high school. I am the media center specialist. I taught 7th grade for many, many years, so I've been around for a while. But before that, I also did promotional work in Chicago, and I was an entertainment reporter and did graphic design in the features department at Columbia Daily Tribune in Columbia, Missouri. So I kind of bring some of my past into some of the things we're doing in the media center, which has just been a great opportunity for me. I have loved being able to bring all of those skills together and kind of go back to my roots with marketing a little bit. So the Military Wall of Honor was a project that Dane Linzek came to me, and he spearheaded the project for our Grand Hall. He had seen it in a couple other schools and wanted to do the same thing. My brother is a graduate from Wheeler High School, who went to West Point, so I definitely have some personal ties to it as well. He asked Cora Anderson to help facilitate because she worked with our person who does plaques for athletics. And then he asked me because I tend to like to do a lot of these things. So I've generated a Google form, and it's still on our website. It's still on our Facebook, our Instagram. If you know anyone, here's my shout out to please fill out that form. But we put together, looked at other schools what their forms were like, put something together, and I'm just constantly bugging people to fill out the form so I can keep this wall going. Thank you very much. So, as I said, Cora worked to have the plaques made, but as entries started coming in for this, I noticed that I asked people to attach pictures. I didn't know exactly what we would do with them, but as the pictures started coming in, I said, we have to do something with these. because they were really great. And so I got a new poster printer to play with last year. So after researching, I discovered I could do like a multi-panel wallpaper with the poster printer. And so I started figuring out how to use some of these pictures. And then I needed a few more pictures, so I went back in our old files. Mrs. Curtis helped me find some, and I discovered that we had tons of these pictures from old Bearcat veterans because our history teacher, Bob Gray, attempted to do the same thing about 30 years ago with his students. So I figured out their names, I grabbed their pictures to add on, and this is what we've created in the Grand Hall if you haven't seen it yet. And I'm sure people enjoy watching me try to wedge myself into the cabinet to put up the wallpaper. But yeah, it became one kind of cohesive wall background. And JT Hanaway, of course, he's always there to help. He helped make sure everything was lined up when he put the plaques up. And that's our finished product. But again, I hope it's not something that's ever finished, because I hope we keep getting more and more entries. I mean, even this week, I've just had another entry. So every couple of months, we'll grab the plaques, we'll get new entries put on. And I'm hoping that in a few years, I can pull this, background down and add a ton of other pictures to include with that. But that's just a little fun thing we've been doing. I'm excited to do more. So thank you for listening.
It truly is incredible. If you enter the Grand Hall and go past the cafeteria, it's on your left right before you hit the restrooms and make the turn, and it is incredible. It's awesome. We also have Mr. Bob Tishy is on there, his son and his father.
Oh.
So it is really very
Yeah,
special.
It's definitely special, and it's just been a real honor to work on it, and I'm just excited that it's something that just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Thank you very much. Now we have our student athletic leadership team, and Mrs. Crook, our athletic director.
So our student athletic leadership team and I, we had the opportunity to go to the IHSA Student Leadership Conference at Indianapolis Motor Speedway last week. We listened to 3 keynote speakers, each kind of spoke on a different topic, gave us some leadership skills and things to bring back to the community and bring back to our teams. Their favorite part was the t-shirt exchange, which you'll see some video of in a little bit. But they got to meet other kids from different schools. They got to exchange their t-shirts. So I think Ty was actually repping one. He got one from Beach Grove. They were all fighting over the Frankfurt hot dog t-shirts. But it was a really unique experience, and I created like a short little video to kind of highlight it, and then the kids are going to tell you their favorite parts.
I'm on my way, kid, I'm on my way. I'm running late. What can I say? I heard you died twice. Once for the clear you from the grave. If the second time is the last time somebody mentions your name. So I leave here on this earth. Did I take more than I gave? Did I look out for the people? Or did I do it all for fame? Legend is Exodus, searching for euphoria. Searching through the line to find the present, knowing no one else got 20,000 deep up in the street like we some warriors. My mama told me never bow your head.
I feel glorious, glorious, got a chance to start again. I was born for this to my air. feel glorious, glorious, and a chance to start again. I was born for this, it's in my air, my blood. I made it through the darkest of the night.
Hi, I'm Caleb McLaughlin. I will be a senior here at Wheeler High School. One thing I learned was that over 80% of your thoughts are actually negative. So most people can't even do half the things that they want to or push themselves to do anything they want.
Hi, my name is Blake Lava. I'm going to be a junior here at Wheeler High School. And one thing I learned is that communication is important. They stress that a lot, not only with your teammates, but with coaches and athletic directors and stuff.
My name is Isabella, and I'm going into 11th grade, and one thing that I learned is probably that you can make connections not only through sports, but through other things.
My name is Lisa McLaughlin. I also learned communication skills because you don't communicate how you feel, that no one's gonna know how you feel, and if you want something to change, they won't change unless you tell them how you feel.
I'm speaking, so I'm going to be a junior next year, and I really enjoy getting to meet a bunch of people from other schools and also some seniors.
I'm Ty, I'm gonna be a senior, and I learned that you don't have to be the best player on the team to be a leader.
I'm Jessica, and one thing I learned is that if you want to succeed at whatever sport or team that you're on, you need to get out of your head and think more positively to yourself and look for the bright side of things.
Thank you.
This is the first year that we have taken a group of students to this conference, so a big thank you to Mrs. Truck for making this happen. Mr. Paulson also attended, and we greatly appreciate their leadership in this. Yes, how was it? Grant? We get Grant first year?
Yeah.
No, I'm like
Yeah,
drawing a
Grant.
blank. I'm totally drawing a blank. I'm like, tell me how it was.
I applied for a grant and we got the grant to go, which paid for, we actually stayed overnight, for a night. We went to, took kids to Dave Buster's. So we really got the full experience and the grant helped us pay for that.
Awesome, great, thank you very much.
Thank you. And yes, students, you may leave. Public expression agenda items only. I did not have anyone sign up on the sheet, but if you would like to say something. Okay, thank you. Consent agenda.
All right, so in the consent agenda, we have our June minutes, payroll and claims, construction claims, personnel report, gift and donations. A couple highlights that I have from the personnel report. You'll notice that it is a longer personnel report because this is always the month where we bring a lot of our renewals for coaching and extracurricular positions, anyone new that's changed for that, sponsors for clubs and activities. We also have several new teachers that are in the audience that we will have them definitely introduce themselves after we pass the consent agenda. I also want to take a minute to thank all of our coaches and extracurricular staff that always step up to lead those, because we all know that students who are involved really makes an impact on their education. And so I appreciate, oftentimes we have staff who, if a position doesn't get filled, are willing to step up into those leadership positions. So thank you for all of those staff members that have joined in and helped us out. All right, as far as the highlight goes for the person, gifts and donations. We have one gift and donation, but I also want to highlight that last month I didn't have a chance to thank Hang Banners for their large donation, and I wanted to make sure that it is known that they helped with track coaches gear, a track pole vault collar, softball jerseys, softball pants, boys golf uniforms, baseball hats, baseball coaches gear, additional baseball jerseys, and softball, baseball, little league bracelets. So thank you again to the Hang Banners. That was a last month donation, but I didn't have the list to discuss that. The donation that we have this month is for $4,068.41 from our youth football camp, and they donated the proceeds to our football account at Wheeler High School. So we really want to thank you all for that and appreciate all the kids that went and families that supported it, and then obviously sharing that with our older students is greatly appreciated. So I know that, I believe that we wanted to present the check to Mrs. Crock today. Yeah, that would be great. If you guys would turn around and just, I've got someone in my audience, she's gonna take a quick picture. We would love to get to highlight our community being involved in helping our kids and then helping our high schoolers as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And no other is the consent agenda, so just need a
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion carries.
Yes, we have 4 new teachers here, and they are all in that upper elementary at our John Simonovich and Union Center. So I would love them to have an opportunity to introduce themselves. So if you'd like to start.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Brooke Lustig. I will be a 4th grade teacher at Union Center Elementary this year. A little bit about me. I have lived in Valpo my entire life. I graduated from Valpo High School in 2020, so COVID year. Definitely interesting to say the least. After that, I went to Purdue University main campus and graduated in May of 2024 with my bachelor's in elementary education. My first year teaching, I was at Maryville Intermediate School teaching 5th grade math and science, and then I just happened to find myself there. So I'm very excited to be joining the Bearcat family this year.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm so glad to have this opportunity to be here today. My name is Maggie Smolik. I am from Valparaiso, grew up there. I graduated from high school from Washington Township. Again, I was a COVID baby when I graduated in 2020. And then I did my student teaching, actually, I did it at Union Center and John Simonovich. I kind of went back and forth between the 2 schools. So it's a wonderful school corporation, and I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Hello, my name is Norma Humiak. I'm from Cherville, Indiana. I am a former stay-at-home mom, PTO volunteer, volunteered in all my kids' extracurriculars, which led me to want to pursue a career in education. I started as an instructional assistant, and while in that position, I worked towards getting my degree in elementary education, which led me to here today with you all. And I'm so excited to continue on this, or start this these new steps in my journey with you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Allie Drake. I'm from Crown Point, Indiana. I graduated in 2020 as well. I had attended IUN and graduated in May of 2024 with my degree in general ed, special ed, art, and music. Last year, I was a para for 3rd grade at Eisenhower Elementary in Crown Point, and I as well have found myself here, and I'm so excited to get started. So thank you for the opportunity.
If you came up front, if we got a picture, we can get a picture with our own principal, some of that.
Do you want to get in with us?
Sure.
I can't read it. All right, we're good.
There you go.
We also are excited to announce that Mrs. Amanda Gibson, who is our guidance counselor, so she's a familiar face to Wheeler, but she is now moving to our assistant principal position at the high school. So if you'd like to say a couple of things.
I really just want to say thank you. This will be my 8th year at Wheeler. I immediately knew what a special place it was to work and to be, so much so that I recruited my husband to come over here. My daughter will be starting kindergarten at Smonowich this year. So I'm very invested, not just on a work level, but on a personal level as well. So I'm super excited. Thank you very much.
We are very
Moving on to new business.
Okay, we have our project updates. Let's see. Well, we have I don't see them in the audience, but we do have a video from their drone footage. They have shared several things with us, and they're in the final stages. I know that many people have already visited our fields. Mr. Cochran went to a construction meeting today, so I know that he can share anything that you might want to.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if we'll do about our new starting time.
That could
Because
be.
they were here today, they were on site, so something we'll fix up, but we're doing well. We just have moving to some punch list items out of the baseball softball complex with multi-purpose field. Construction for the football stadium concession stand is making great progress. Weather, obviously with the storms coming through this week is delayed just a little bit, but not too much. Hopefully to have everything done. When they were said start their punch list on that building right there, that 28th of July. So that's kind of the timeline. So we're making progress. We should be ready for our first football game.
I think you did a great job on this one.
Pretty good spot.
Any questions about the construction project? All right, board action for that. We've got our policy analytics presentation. You'll remember that we have contracted with policy analytics to support us with our long-term financial planning. And this is April Fitterling, and she's from Policy Analytics and is going to share some forecasting for us. And most of everyone has heard about our Senate enrolled Act 1 and how it's impacted schools. And so specifically, she'll speak to Union Township. So thank you very much.
Didn't want to stand with my back to the crowd, so.
That's why we've got one there.
Okay, well, yeah, so I'm April Fitterling from Policy Analytics. We do property tax analysis and revenue projections for school districts. So I've been with Policy Analytics 3 weeks now, and I come from Warsaw, so it was great to pull out the orange dress again to be here today. So we'll just talk quickly on the impact on tax rate, tax levy, revenue, and then slightly touch on the impact to taxpayers. So this first slide just talks about the assessed value and rate and levy kind of calculation and the impact on that. As you know, I believe you heard a little bit about all of the changes. So there's a homestead-related deduction changes, the homestead credit changes, the 2% property tax changes, the business personal property tax changes, and the controlled project rate changes. So going through the changes, each of them have a different impact on each of the different categories that your net assessed value is made up of. So on the first slide to the left, you'll see where your net assessed value is today in 2025, and then what the impact is in 6 years in 2031. You have a diverse, you have a highly residential net assessed value, but due to the specific changes, it does not change the scope of the net assessed value. So just think of it as it's a pie and then it just becomes a smaller pie, but the categories don't change too much, off by a couple percentages. And then looking at the tax burden shift, it follows the net assessed value category very similar. So the pie again, the total net assessed value in 2025 and 2031, it's just a smaller pie.
Okay, so we'll talk about a couple scenarios today, a levy-based scenario and then rate-based scenario, and what that looks like for your tax rate. So on the first category where it says 2025 levy, what we've highlighted here is in 2025, your levy is just over 4.2 million in your debt service fund. So in 2025, the tax rate is 0.4151. So to keep that exact same levy out to 2035, the projected tax rate post Senate Enrolled Act 1 by 2031 would need to increase to 0.5352 just to maintain the exact same revenue that we'd be bringing in today. So that is just a one-based scenario on the exact same levy today. On a rate-based scenario, because like most districts, and you have managed to a tax rate because that is what historically we have done. Because we've had growing assessed values, manage a tax rate, you can still get growing revenue. Well, with net assessed values that are staying the same or declining, what happens, it takes our levy down if we do not bring our tax rate up. So, rate-based scenario, what we've modeled here is in 2025 at a tax rate of 0.4151, you'd be getting just over that 4.2 million. And then pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1, the rate would stay the same, but the levy would continue to grow because that was, the net assessed value was continuing to grow. Well, if you wanted to get that exact same revenue, looking at 2031, you would need to get a tax rate up to 0.7234. So these are just giving you two scenarios just to look at what would happen to your tax rate and your levy due to the Senate Enrolled Act 1 changes. So this is just a projection as of today. What we know, we've done a 2 to 4% growth on your net assessed value. We will be redoing this report in the fall when we have actual net assessed values released from the DLGF and they're certified. So the top line is the gross assessed value. Green line is the gross assessed value. The blue line is net assessed value pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1. And the orange line is post-Senate Enrolled Act 1. What is going to happen to your net assessed value as of today in our scenario, except we'll update it to actuals in the fall. So you can see kind of where the business personal property tax change comes in 2027. I've made a note on there that in 2026, when we get the actuals, it may see a little bump because we are hearing that these net assessed values may be certified higher again this next year. But what that does, it just delays these things one more year. So as you can see, in 2031, that is when all of the deductions will be in place fully because it is a 6-year process for each of these deductions. And then you'll see the net assessed value projected to grow up, grow on an upward trajectory. And you see the gross assessed value, I should have said this at first. Our gross assessed value is based on it's a market-based system, so your home's values are going to continue to grow up. The total property tax rate, this is just an example of what would happen to your tax rate just to receive the same levy you would today. And the red line is the levy-based scenario. So that's projecting where the total tax rate would need to go just to get the exact same dollars you would today. And then the teal is, or aqua, is what you would need to raise your rate to, and I'm looking at 2031, the peak there, to what the levy would have grown pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1. So this is just a chart form of the debt service property tax we did like 3 slides ago. So you would see that you are at your debt service rate of 0.4151, and then the rate-based scenario over that 70 cents at 0.7234, and then the levy-based scenario at just the 5.5352. So this is just a chart of the numbers a couple slides ago. Okay, so operations levy. So this is your operations revenue. Currently in 2025, the projected revenue is just over 3.7 million. You'll see in 2026, there's a dip in that. Why the dip? It is that 10% or a maximum of $300 credit to the homeowners. So what that does is the dotted line would have been the projected revenue pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1.
And I say that so many times, it starts to roll together, so sorry. So you'll see the dip in 2026, but due to the net assessed value projected growth, we will see estimated your levy to grow at a muted rate and not just as fast. And so you'll see a gap there. And the first side is the levy-based scenario, and then the right side is the rate-based scenario, just to give you some context. So this next slide is to talk a little bit about your operating referendum. So not only is it hitting the debt fund and the operations fund, it is also going to affect your operating referendum fund. So what I've modeled here today is you advertise at a maximum rate of 21 cents. And you had operated this year at 0.1914 to receive the revenue of just, 1.958 million. So to receive additional revenue, you will need to go up to that 21 cents that you advertised to get the revenue that you need. It's not going to be where it was pre-Senate Roll Act 1. So that's something that we just wanted to make you aware that the revenue, the tax rate that you had approved is not going to get the revenue that it would have pre-Senate Roll Act. And you'll see that's quite a big jump from 2.9 to 1.6 to 2031. Okay, so quickly talking about what we're calling, we're calling it a post-circuit breaker credit because we have the traditional circuit breakers, but these are the post-Senate Roll Act 1 circuit rate breakers because this is a revenue that you will not be seeing into your operations and your debt fund for 2026. So traditional circuit breakers, the debt fund is protected. In this circuit breaker, it is not. So in 2026, you will see a lack of revenue in the levy-based scenario of just over 210,000 in operations and just over 231 in debt service. We've been in complete discussion with attorneys and S&P and all of the fun, exciting people that regulate debt. And it is not good when a school district or a municipality would default on their debt or their debt payment. So if you don't protect the debt fund, you have to, and you don't raise enough levy to make your debt payments, then you're gonna eat into your cash balance, or you just don't have dollars to make your debt payments. That's something that the state is not gonna let happen, so we are pretty sure they're gonna come back and protect that debt service fund. So I made a note that if that happens next legislative session, in 2027, that's the first time it'll be able to protect that debt fund. So if it protects the debt fund, the impact will be all on the operations fund. So in 2027, you could see an impact of $462,300 not going into your operations fund. So that is quite a big chunk of change that the operations fund would just have to cut back in their revenue, cut back in expenditures. This is just a bar graph of pretty much what that just says. So the lighter red is what would happen to your operations fund revenue, and then if they protect the debt service fund, what the dark line would be to your operations levy. And then the taxpayer impact, just touching on this slightly, that you'll see in 2026, it dips down due to that 10% or max of $300 credit. And then you'll see it continues to grow. In the red is the levy-based scenario, and the aqua is the rate-based scenario. And it continues to grow because, like we said, this is a market-based system, and so their assessed values are going to go up on their homes. Okay, so the next two slides are just summaries of the changes, and I left them in there just so if you need something to fall asleep to tonight, one read, go ahead. And I went through that pretty quickly, but are there any questions?
Can we go to the first slide?
Yeah. You want this one or keep going?
Oops, keep going. No more.
That one. Yeah.
So this is kind of what I said earlier, whatever happens to the assessed value, changes, well, assessed value times tax rate equals your levy. So if assessed value goes up, which it traditionally has been, we've been able to maintain tax rates and our levy has continued to go up. If we have been having, if we've been wanting to take our tax rate down or do something like that, or we don't need as much levy, as the assessed value is going up, you could decrease your rate and receive just a little less levy. Or what we're seeing now in these Senate Rolled Act 1 changes is net assessed value is actually trending down. So to get as much levy as you had in the past, we are looking at having to raise tax rates. You're still getting, even if you raise that tax rate, you would still be getting the same dollars that would have been generated. So there is a disconnect between the rate and the levy now. They don't work like they used to. But since these changes, I know most districts have managed the tax rate, but if we are looking at managing to a levy, the majority of districts now. So looking at dollars instead of rates.
Can you go to the next slide and just touch on a little bit what happens to the net assessed value versus the gross assessed value? How are we seeing the net assessed value shrink?
How are you seeing net assessed value shrink? Let me show you, well, because of all of these, but let me show you this slide right here. So as we're seeing the gross assessed value grow, right in here in 2026, here's where the, in 2026, right here is where we're seeing that homestead credit. So the 10% or $300 credit that's happening to homeowners, the business personal property tax changes, so any personal property tax owned by a business, used to be anything under 80,000 would be tax exempt. Well, now it's anything under 2 million. So looking back at these, this is all part of it. So standard deduction is phasing out, the supplemental deduction is going up. So deductions are going higher. So what they changed was, it used to be just 48,000 on your homestead deduction, but as your house assessed value goes up, that deduction, the value of that essentially goes down. So they wanted it to grow. As your house assessed value grows, that deduction grows too. So as that deduction grows, it means less revenue for us. The local property tax credits. So if I have a $100,000 home, I have a $1,000 tax cap, but if I'm getting a $100 credit, because that's 10%, that $100 on my home is $100 that is not going to be going to school districts, cities and towns, libraries, all of those things. So that's another less revenue to the district. Then there are changes to the 2% tax cap category, and then the ag calculation. There's changes inside of there that they grow in percentage each year. And then there's that business personal property tax that I mentioned before. So ag equipment, small business equipment, anything under that 2 million is not taxed. So that just means you're not paying taxes. And that means that's less revenue to school districts. So those are all the impact that is making the net assessed value go down. And what it goes down to is in 2031, when we pretty much have established a new floor, because each of those each of the deductions increase until 2031, where the standard deduction goes away, the supplemental is at the 66%. So, and then this is the controlled project change. So the change from 80 cents to 70 cents just is the threshold where you have to have a petition or remonstrance, 2 hearings in that 40 to 70 cents. So 40 to 70 cents. So I talked really fast there. Any other questions?
I'd like to reiterate to the board that this won't be the first time that you're hearing about our finances, and definitely Senate Rolled Act 1 and how it impacts all of our schools. As she said, this impacts all the municipalities, and we're all feeling it. We are going into budget season, if you will, in our school, and so I wanted to also let everybody know that Mr. Cochran will be back. He's here now. He will be ready to present in August, and then going forward in our effort to be transparent with our community, Mr. Cochran will be giving presentations every August and every January, and that will help with, hopefully, the intent will be that it helps everyone kind of understand our budget. The state of Indiana with SC Enroll Act 1 is definitely in a state of flux. A lot of misunderstandings out there. I think we're going to do as good of a job we can do to educate, obviously the board and the community on the impact of Union Township schools specifically. And so we'll continue to have presentations, answer questions as they come up, and going forward. So this was our first presentation. We really appreciate you being here and starting this conversation.
Absolutely, and you've said it enough, this is every district in the state, and if they're not aware of it, it's not a 1 or 2 year impact, it's 6 years before that bottom line dips. So it's being just aware and knowing what happens, and they said they're not done, so hang on to the ground. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for speaking.
Section 3.
I am here.
Right here. Okay, discussion.
Potential projects.
Yes. So in your board packet, you'll see a line item that says discussion of potential projects and authorization of publication. What that is referring to is every year, throughout the year, and with our high school principals administrative team, our principals propose capital projects. We also, at the end of the year and through mid-year, look at our facilities. And we look at our facilities for deferred and preventative maintenance with a 5 to 10 year view. And in doing so, we are talking about things like our roofs, our lighting we brought to you, and looking at energy efficient lighting. We're talking about our HVAC systems. We're talking about updates that will prolong the longevity and of our buildings, and some specific needs that are in our buildings, inside the walls, our structure, those kind of items that we want to make sure we keep staying on top of. And we've come across that we have some projects that we'd like to look at and bring to your attention. Again, this is something that we do every year and we've looked at with our team. We would like to ask the board if we could come back in August to the board meeting and present those possible projects that we have. In order to do that, I would just need board approval of publication of the meetings.
So a motion to authorize publication. Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion carries. Now we move on to policy updates.
I would like to mention that if you grabbed an agenda over here, policy updates weren't in there, but they are now in there and they are attached and they're online. So if you get online to our Diligent platform, community platform, you'll find them in there. These are, obviously, we just went through a big legislation and a lot of new laws. These policies that we're providing first reading for tonight are imperative to the start of the school year. So they have recommended, just recently, with everything that seems to be happening now at the state level, that we look at pushing these to make sure these ones, make sure that they get approved as close to the start of the school year. So that's the packet that's in here. That is the link that's available online to those policy updates. In the future, this won't be the first one. We'll bring another group of policies that we need to update according to the new legislation. So for tonight, I just need a motion to approve the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion carries.
Our second reading will occur in August with potential board adoption.
transfer students, 25, 26.
Okay, in your board packet, you will see the numbers of applications that we received. And we were able to accommodate for all of the applications to approve or accept tonight, pending board approval, the application numbers for all of those spots. As you recall, I talked about in the last couple months that we are going to continue to accept transfer students based on our enrollments in grades K through 8 only. I know that there is some trepidation, confusion about now the new language that says that you are allowed to accept transfer students for athletic reasons. We are not a district that's open 9 through 12, so therefore we don't accept transfers, whether it's for academics or arts or athletics. Another school corporation may be open K-12, and now students are able to transfer, and athletic reasons don't not allow them to do so, but that's not the case for us. So we will continue to accept transfers throughout the year, K through 8, in our open positions. What I will do is wait for our school year to start and see the new students that we have come, some students that we didn't know weren't returning, and adjust the numbers, come back to the board for approval of those, continuation of those numbers based on our enrollment the first couple of weeks of school.
We have a motion to approve transfer of students.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion?
At the next board meeting or at the August or September, it would be nice to see for the preschool that we had last year, how many of those students ended up coming into our school system. Because we had a very successful preschool program, and I'd love to see how many we captured at the kindergarten level, and then use that to kind of gauge with UCE starting that program, what kind of feeder that really is needing for us. Because our numbers for the tuition or transfer students for this year is significantly higher than in the past. So kudos, because it looks like that feeder system is building, and that's exactly what we wanted to see.
Absolutely, and always the intention is to try to get students into our corporation or into our schools the youngest we can, because we've noticed their success rate if they start in kindergarten, being one of our Bearcats in the education we provide. And so I was delighted, and I know that the board was too, to see that kindergarten numbers are our largest numbers for transfers.
Really nice.
So all those in favor? Yes, we do.
We are
Motion carries. The new drug student testing services agreement.
Okay, so this is nothing new. We have been doing random drug testing every other month, and then we randomly pick a different month. So several times a year, 5 students at the middle school, 10 students at the high school. It's a random based on the parents' opt-in. There's 2 options. So the parents can opt in their child, or any child that is involved in driving to school or any extracurricular activity, they are possibly their name is drawn, or it's actually their student number is drawn, and then they are screened with the drug testing. The company that we used to use went out of business. So I worked with high school principal, Mr. Krushka, and he did an excellent job of vetting a few companies that do the same work in other Porter County schools, and we found a reputable company, a company that several area schools use, and this is the contract that they are proposing. We will not change any of the existing procedures or policies surrounding what we do in the schools with this, but we definitely need to change the company. So that's what we're asking for, is approval of the contract with the new company.
Motion to approve the contract with the new company.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Just had a quick question, the random selection process, is that something that the school does, or is it the outside company?
That's an excellent question. No, it's an outside company. We provide them an update before we have that, they provide us those student numbers that were chosen. We give them an Excel sheet and they run that and then give us back. They never have student names, they just have numbers. Yeah, excellent question.
Thank you, Jen. Facility use form update.
Okay, so we were definitely in need of updating our facility use form, considering we have a lot of updates to our facilities outside of our high school and our middle school, as we saw in our video tonight. So this really captures our ability to make sure that we're not only allowing our community to use our fields and wonderful accommodations that we have, as well as if there is interest from community members or even constituents outside of the Union Township School Corporation, that they understand the fee structure that we have and also understand what we are expecting the use to be and those expectations of how to take care of our fields. We want to make sure that their community uses them first and that we're really honoring the community that chose to bring them here. And that is the structure for the fees and the updated use form. You'll see that there's different categories, and it goes from category 1 all the way down to category 4. And category 1 is our own schools use, so our own coaches, our own key clubs, communities, students, etc., and teachers. And then category 2 would be our community, Little League, and football and soccer. Good. And that little bitty ball, all of those kind of things. And then it keeps going. So is there any questions that you might have? It is a longer facility use form that we've ever had before, but I do think it provides for much more detail and explanation to those who complete the application. The applications would be going to our high school first and reviewed, and then eventually they come to central office for approval.
I think it bears mentioning and a reminder that when we approved the projects for the athletic field improvements several years back, it was in response to community surveys and community input, one of which was to create fields that also had access to our youth theater program. And I commend you for pulling this together and working with the team, and for the first time since I've been involved, that we're able to offer the access and use of these fields to our youth programs at no cost. For years, there's been charges involved, whether it's the soccer, the Little League, who have had to do their own fundraising, or in many cases charge parents to participate in those programs. So the fact that we've honored that choice and we've honored that feedback as a part of our project, to me speaks volumes to what you guys have been able to pull together. And this looks like an equitable balance to using the fields for the school's purpose, for the youth's purpose, for the first time ever at no cost, but allowing the community at large to have access to these as well. So nice job pulling that together.
Absolutely, thank you for saying that. And we want to make sure we get as many of our little and big Bearcats on our fields, using our equipment and enjoying and feeling proud of our facilities.
So we have a motion to approve the facility use form update.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion carries. Supplies and material fee.
Okay, so you may recall that the last 2 years with the new legislation, in the last 2 years, they said that we could not charge any fees to our families. And so no one in the state of Indiana charged fees. This would be the time that we would probably likely, or in May actually, vote on and accept fee structure. And the loss in revenue to school corporations was pretty drastic across the state of Indiana. So this time in their legislative session, they came back and said, well, we are not going to allow you to charge for curriculum, textbooks, or anything that is required for a student to pass a course. However, we will allow you to charge for some optional fees. So those fees, I just want to give some examples of what those fees would look like and point out that this is something that would happen at this time or May every year that we would approve if we were going to go forward with charging some sort of fees. So again, there is some ambiguity here, some confusion, what are districts going to charge? Some districts are charging for things like PE uniforms, science kits at different levels, vocational programming, the AP tests, dual credit, all of those things that are not necessarily required to pass the course. Optional is what they're saying. Here at Union Township, we feel that we're in a good position that we are not going to be charging any fees this school year. So I don't need board action because we're not going to be charging any fees. I felt it was one of those things where it's difficult to not charge for a couple of years and now come back and say, okay, well, actually now we are going to charge. So we're going to keep an eye on what the rest of the state does, where our budget is, how this impacts us. I also wanted to point out that our Porter County Educational Service Center that works through vocational, those are larger expenses because those are where we send students for auto mechanics, engineering. There's several programs that we send our kids to. I serve on that board as well as part of the Porter County Interlocal, and in January, we're going to be reassessing that for the Porter County Education Services Center, specifically for vocational, and likely adopt fees for some of those courses that simply the Interlocal would not be able to continue to cover. Right now, we, as each school district who's a part of that, we pay a flat rate amount per student that we send, but we're going to be looking at now, it's going to be, the proposal is that it's a structure based on, if this is the program you attend, this is the supply fee for those programs, as opposed to just a flat rate for each student that we send.
When would those fees go into place? In
Not until
January?
next school year.
Okay, good, so people will have.
It's still in
plenty of
next
time.
school year, it's just a discussion in January.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't need any board action at that time. Any other questions?
25, 26 meal prices.
All right, this is an annual action that we need the board to adopt our meal prices. Breakfast and will remain at $1.25. Elementary lunch will remain at $2.25. High school and middle school lunch will remain at $2.50. So you won't see a change in anything there, but we do need to certify that the board approved those.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion carries.
I don't have any other.
Financial report?
All right, in your board packets are our financials through the end of the first half of the year, 6/30. We are trending right near budget in both our education and operations fund. We are slightly over budget in the education fund and slightly under budget in our operations fund through the first 6 months. I do expect those education fund percentage to get back in line after we get through the summer, for some of our educational costs that we typically pay throughout the year, we just don't pay throughout the summer for our non-certified positions. So other than that, I think we're trending in the right direction. So that's our fund report for the month. On to the next item, unless there's any questions about the funds. Next items, as part of our investment strategy, we use funds that we have available to invest to create some interest, as opposed to just sitting in a traditional savings account. We put this into, through the state, we're allowed to invest in very secure investments. We've opted for CDs the past few years. We sent out the opportunity bid to local base within our community. 3 groups responded and 1 did not. And our winning bid was First Source Bank with 4.45% for our CD for a 6-month period from July 1 through December 31st. And no board action on that, just an update.
Before we move on to superintendent communication, I think I'm so very sorry.
No, it's fine. I was looking, like, I think they moved the time.
And you're right, we did. So we already showed your wonderful drone footage video.
Oh, good.
And Alan did a great job of kind of summarizing, but we would love to hear from you both on where we're at, especially since we're getting to the end of the project.
Very end, yeah. Okay. Right now, we're working on the asphalt paving for the roads. That starts this week. So we'll get that all finished up. We are removing the site fencing and starting to clear up the landscaping. We're mowing down all the weeds, and then we're going to kill it all off and then start seeding the grass. Punch list starts 7/28, and we plan on moving equipment out starting August 1st and cleaning up the site. A few items will remain. The donor pavers, we had a few last minute changes, so that'll be August 8th. The multi-purpose windscreen and padding is running late. That'll be August 11th. And then some fencing gates also will follow behind that. The site survey required by the county will start July 31st. And then we should see the certificate of occupancy and compliance sometime probably a week after that. So pretty close to finishing up. And then just on behalf of Hagerman, thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this work. We really appreciate the opportunity, and we're glad to deliver this project for your community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just to say that Hagerman is wonderful to work with, responsive, if we have questions, very timely responses, so we do appreciate you working with you as well.
Thank you.
And we definitely appreciated the bid drone.
Yeah,
So-
there'll be more too. We'll send them out another time at the very end.
Okay, great.
And we'll probably do like a compilation, like through the months. So we'll send that to you guys when we're finished with that.
That would be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Add on a little, yeah, it's exciting that it's all shaping up together, and I think that the final push in the last couple of weeks will get buttoned up, all the paving happening and concrete fencing. It's really exciting to see. And the middle school gym, if you haven't put your head in there, there's the new floor is down, and they were painting the logo and stuff on today, so that's coming along. You know, it's kind of a tight schedule, but it seems like it's going along fine. And I think we're still waiting on the tennis court list that's supposed to happen any day now.
We heard today that the tennis was postponed today because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And so we're just a little off, but they didn't say it was going to really act the, which they.
Next week, they were supposed to be out next week, Monday was the day.
Yeah, I knew it was like gonna be any day now once they had that right.
Looks wonderful out there. They planted all the trees and really started to the finishing touches. Yeah, so exciting.
Superintendent communication.
Okay, first I wanted to let everybody know that the July 16th today is when the State Board of Ed finalized the results for iLearn, IAM, iRead, and our SAT scores. And while I was preparing for this meeting today, they sent out a media post and shared all those results. So I'm sure that we'll continue to hear. I'm going to work with our administrative team to look at those. We have already shared individual student reports with families, so we won't be needing to do that like some districts, but instead we're going to be looking at how we fared in Porter County, as well as diving into individual students' improvements and performance and groups within our schools, grade levels, subjects, and looking on areas that we can improve, and then celebrating those areas that we did really well. I'll tell you, I couldn't help but, of course, jump right in. And we have several grade levels that we're really celebrating. Our administrative team will begin their learning reports, going through the data, celebrations, areas of improvement, different things that they're doing in their building to encourage and motivate student learning, as well as celebrate our kids always. So they will start those in October, and then really dive into the data with the board. Then my other communication I have is Bearcat Celebrate. We've got several things, an event coming up, SpongeBob the Musical, August 1st through 3rd. And I know Mr. Hanaway has put a ton of information. If you don't follow the Bearcat Theater Facebook page, it's wonderful. He highlights several of the actors and the people behind the scenes, and just a wonderful job on that. So if you're able to attend that, we thank him and his supportive cast behind the scenes and making those happen. They really are wonderful for our community. Jenna Phelps, I'd like to recognize her. She is a kindergarten teacher over at Union Center. She was chosen for Teacher of Excellence through the Kenneth Allen Law Group, and he always does a great little blurb and write-up, and so we congratulate her on that, well-deserved. In our sports, we've got our cheerleading team, led by Mrs. Ramirez herself. She took a group of students, high school cheerleading squad, to Purdue's camp in Lafayette, and they are going up against, and they're with teams that, have 20 and 30 cheerleaders. We are part of the small varsity squad group, but Valparaiso's there, Chesterton's there. It's a really wonderful experience, and they shared great pictures. Again, Mrs. Krutz shared wonderful pictures on our athletic Facebook page. But I want to highlight that Sophia Rodriguez and Matea Ramirez got the Pin It Forward Award. The Matea also got the All-American Award and will be able to represent Wheeler High School at one of the national events and invited. So that's very exciting. That's actually her second year. Last year they went to Florida, and the pictures were wonderful. To see Matea in our Wheeler cheerleading outfit in Florida representing us was very, very neat. And then the team itself got 2 trophies for the small varsity division. So congratulations and thank you, Mrs. Ramirez.
Public expression. I don't have anyone on my sign-up sheet. Anyone ready to sign up? No public expression? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Our next board meeting is scheduled for August 20th, 6 p.m.
All right. Motion carries, motion adjourned.
You got my dad.